Hey, what's up, guys? I decided to do something different. Um, Instead of just talking about it, what I've done is talking about the books I've wanted to write in the first person. I'm Shadow. No, I decided to do something totally different because I actually started to write my books. The problem I had was I wasn't able to write them. I couldn't describe them on paper. I couldn't, not paper or anything. I didn't know how. you know, um, because all my stories are so complex. So I started doing it on Wattpad, and it'll allow me to go back. So I've gone and created some of these stories that I had in my head and couldn't really get out. Well, what I started with is I used an app called Amino, and in Amino you have different kind of like platforms or whatever you can make. You can make fan pages or whatever. You make one for Avengers, or you can do role playing ones where you just type out what your character does or says, and you take on that role of the character. Or you can do it in voice chat or whatever. You can type out what your character's doing and say, actually, talk as your character in voice chat. It's a lot more complicated. Anyways, so I started off by doing just that, just role playing, you know, doing some stories there. And so I took some of the stories and I published them here. I have 3 stories so far: Ryder, The Adventures of Jack, and then Shadow and Crimson. Shadow and Crimson was the first book I started, and I think I'm actually done with it. I go here to library. I have a bunch of books here. Shadow and Crimson. Continue reading. We will go to, where is it? Island Paradise. There we go. I think that's the first one. Yeah. Okay. So this was the first one I started. This was when this book is supposed to be about, my girlfriend. She plays Crimson, and it's supposed to be how we met. This is how we actually started off. The stories are off a little bit about exactly how we met, but it gets to the basics of it. Some of it's exaggerated, some of it's cut out. And we get to it. So, going through here, most of my stories are just short stories, and then very short chapters, and then keep going. Because I don't like a lot of writing. I like to get the point across of, what I'm doing. Short parts here, short parts there. So Island Paradise. This chapter just gets me to that island. I arrive at that island, and so what I did was I treated each different chat in that. Sorry, my phone keeps going off. It's charging and not charging, and so yeah, sorry. But and how I got there. Some of the names are changed. Her name really wasn't Valerie. It was a different name, but I used Valerie because I didn't want to, actually use her name. She wound up being very mean and stuff like that, so that's why I didn't use her name. If you go back to library, Adventures of I won't do that one yet. Go to writer first, because I'm actually going to write The Adventures of Jack in this video, or at least one chapter, which was the one that popped up, Shadow's mother, which is kind of a touchy subject for me, because if let's do that. It's not like it's a bad thing for me. I want to continue reading. Please? Okay, we'll go through here. Works. Writer. You go to the appearance. So Um, so I read a lot of books, and the trouble I had with writing a book was I didn't know how to do it. I looked it up. I did a bunch of stuff trying to figure out how do I do this. So that's why I did the Shadow and Crimson one, because it was just taking the roleplay I had, changing it up a little bit, and then writing it out. Changing the story up just a little bit, the names and stuff like that, but getting the general point across, because, it's just retelling of a story. Then I got actually into my own stories, which is what writer is. Writer is basically me. Take me inside my own world, which is kind of hard because if you're adventuring around in a world that you've created, right, and you're trying to give the characters like their own thoughts and whatever, it's hard to write that off, because you as the writer of your stories control these characters' feelings. So if a character is mad at me, I can easily just no, I'm gonna write it as if they're not mad at me. Or if they're happy and I want them mad, I can just write it as if they're mad. So I have to make it seem like it's their own thoughts, their own actions, as I'd react to them as I'm actually, as if I'm not part of the story and part of the story at the same time, which I haven't really seen, which to me seems like this is the first time it's been done. Maybe not the first time it's tried, but the first time it's done. So the appearance, which is the first chapter, is just the description of me. I don't have pointy ears like an elf. That's the way I wrote myself into the book. It's not exactly me. It's what I wished I looked like. He seems to almost never smile in the second paragraph and looks mad all the time, and at least disappointed in something, although he isn't. I constantly have this look, just generally unappeased kind of look. That's what I put there. Goatee, mustache, and then I steps out on the street and walks with the crowd. I wasn't going anywhere specific, just walking and waiting for Jack to find me. The way I wrote this, at first, I didn't want to have powers, but I needed to meet up with Jack somehow. So I wrote my character as if he gives off a lot of energy, and we'll show that in the next chapter. Go ahead, Kent. Actually, I didn't. Okay. Taking on death. So I walked down the street, and I kept sending out surges of power, challenging him to a fight. It wasn't really challenging, I wasn't purposely challenging him to a fight, like full on, punch each other. It's just, that's the way I was sending out the energy. That's the only way to get Jack out, is either be female or not like he'll go to any female, but just, the character Jack Jack as a character is flirtatious and egotistical, and he knows he has all the power. That's why he's egotistical. He's flirtatious because, for the longest time he's been killing a lot of people, has been in every war, and decides that war is enough for now, and he used to be like a reaper going to take souls, and he got tired of doing that, so he just left it to the rest of the reapers, which is what I explained later on in some chapters about his backstory, which there's 3 parts to. So mainly just now he just fights and sleeps around. That's basically it. One night stands, stuff like that. Except for the stories about Shadow's mom, which is, that's the reason I'm touchy about it. So I was like, should I make it a one night stand thing? Should I make it where he actually loved her? Should I make it where he left her? That's the touchy subject, because, I made it to where Jack took Shadow in and put him into a kind of an assassin's orphanage, kind of like putting him in a church, and they train him to be a pastor, something like that. He just assassin for his entire life. So eventually and here Jack shows up, 6'7", and I wanted to make him seem very intimidating because challenging Jack to the fight is not the best thing. So I said, "Hello, Jack. How's life treating death today?" Because that's who Jack is. Jack is death. And I put his jaw dropped, but he closed it quickly because no one knows Jack is actually death. They just think he's super powerful, and he's one of the most OP characters you'll ever see. He has infinite power, and most people are like, don't like OP characters because they never take hits, they can never die, and they seem to win every fight. That's not Jack. Jack is overpowered in his power, his ability to fight, but he's not overpowered in the sense that he has no weakness. He does have a weakness. And his weakness is, he can take hits. In one of the role plays, I role played as Jack and Shadow. At some parts, some others this was a friend of mine playing Jack, who destroyed my character, by the way. Jack wasn't supposed to be super flirtatious and clingy and stuff like that. He turned into that because of my friend. And so I took my character back and said, no, you can't do that anymore, which he didn't like, but he understood because it was my character, not his. I was lending my character to him, and he kind of destroyed it. And so now Jack has this lasting impression on people that he's mean and flirtatious and clingy and stuff like that. Which Shadow was never supposed to be a character. Shadow was supposed to be the spitting image of Jack, but Jack was destroyed, so I made Shadow. That happened. But, Jack loves his family. He doesn't act like it. He acts more like the asshole best friend, the friend that's an asshole but is still there for you when you need him. He's not a father figure to Shadow at all. Even though he is Shadow's father, he's not a father figure at all. He doesn't say, "Oh, son, I need you." No, he's Shadow, I need you. As a friend, not, "Oh, I'm your father, you're going to do as I say." No, I'm more powerful than you. I know more about this situation, as a friend, I'm telling you to get out of here, kind of situations, And, Jack can take hits. In one of the role plays, I accidentally switched the topic earlier about this, but he went up against another overpowered character, right? And I'm talking, this character was literally overpowered and could not take a hit. It was some kind of transforming character. He transformed to dinosaur, Sonic, and other things like Jesus and shit like that. And it was like, so I had Jack up against him because Jack is just as overpowered, but he actually took hits. The overpowered guy hit him, and Jack flew against a tree, breaking it, which is what made Jack more mad. And I made it to where Jack sometimes didn't take hits, but he took hits more often than that OP character. The OP character was punched, stabbed, and he healed immediately. Never flew against a tree, never flew at all. He didn't move. Didn't mean like, drop to the ground or anything. Just auto dodging, where the character just moves his head. When someone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna punch him," and you're like, "No," and just auto dodging. I made it where I could have made Jack, super overpowered, like where he's always auto dodging, never taking hits, always taking hits, but never making it seem like he never took them and stuff like that. But I was like, that's not what a character is. I want to make an overpowered character, but I don't want to make a stupid overpowered character. I want to make a character that's overpowered, but he's still kind of, a character. Because once you get to that stupid overpowered, it's no longer a character. It's not a character. There's no feeling in it. There's no, you made me mad because you nearly beat me. You punched me into a tree. Now I'm really pissed off. No, it's just, I'm going to take the show. I'm going to take that. It's no losing a fight. I make it to where Jack lost a lot of the fights because it's not fun for people if you're always winning. It's fun for you because you're like, the most overpowered character, but you're taking the fun out of other people. And now I'm changing up the topic of what this video is about. So my thing for storytelling is it's not about like, it's how you tell the story, not how you write it. You know, you don't want to just write whatever. And people, when talking to people, before I started on Wattpad, I was like, I don't know how to write it, you know, and they're always telling me, just write stuff. But write stuff and then go back and change it. It's like, that'll take forever because my thoughts are always changing. I've been trying to write this book for almost 11 years now, 10 and a half years at most, you know, 10 and a half years, which would put this back in 2008, you know, since I've been writing this, trying to write this, and I just couldn't. All my thoughts and stuff kept changing, and now that I think back to what those thoughts were, it's like, why did I think that in the first place? You know? And I'll bet you a lot of writers would be like, oh, if you just stayed with those ideas and changed them up a little bit. I'm like, no, because those are old characters. You know, those aren't the characters now. If I just change that a little bit there, it's not the characters I want. You know, writing a book takes time because you have to make sure that's the kind of characters you want. Because an 8-year-old can make an overpowered character exactly like I explained earlier. But an 18-year-old could make a character like I have made if you study how to make the character overpowered but not stupid. You know, make a character, make him OP, but keep him a character, like kind of like Superman is in the comics and some of the animated movies, but not the way he's put in Man of Steel and movies and DCU movies like that. DCMU, whatever. DCEU, whatever. I don't care what's considered the DCU movies nowadays of Justice League. He's super overpowered. He doesn't show any emotion other than to Batman, which is wrath, and Lois Lane, which is love, I guess, lust, or whatever. He doesn't show, like, at the beginning of Justice League, he doesn't show any emotions to the kids. He's just like, And they ask him, what's your favorite thing about Earth? And he's just like, You know, like, kind of like my character would be as writer, but things would get to me in the book. You know, Ryder is the most overpowered character because he can change it. But my plans for it are to make it kind of like, hey, his power can be taken away. He's still kind of like a character in a book, you know. I just don't want to make him stupid, you know. I don't want to make him, he doesn't. I'm still leading off of what this video was about. So I'm going to save the rest of these points for a later video and start on what I was actually supposed to be doing first place, which is going to The Adventures of Jack to do Shadow's mother, which I've been trying to put off for the longest time. Like down here, I have appearance, taking on death, fighting with death, understanding writer, and introduction. I'm still trying to figure out how to do introduction, which I know how to do it. It's just, do I want to do that? I'm waiting to think, you know, should I do this or should I not? So we're going to go on to The Adventures of Jack. Continue writing. I'm going to go to, okay, so we got Into Hell, Messing with the Devil bows before death, death has one weakness, backstory part 1, backstory part 2, backstory part 3, and then this should not be Untitled part 8. It should be just, it should just say Shadow's mother. We're going to go at this slowly at a time, because this is the second book, and this is still going off of some of the roleplay. This isn't exactly what happens, but it's somewhat like what happens. Okay, so everything about this is because I totally forget this second character that pops up. A loud clap like thunder. Jack appeared at the steps of what looked like a school. Another clap sounded, but this time it was thunder and lightning flashed next to him as someone else appeared. Show off, Jack says. What? Afraid you can't show up? Show me up. That was the other character speaking, of course. No, I just don't like using my powers when it's unnecessary. Using powers is always necessary. You have much to learn, boy. Says the one that doesn't have much power. This exchange actually happened, not in the same words, but similar. You know, the appearance is exactly what happened, but the conversation, it's another role player, and me as Jack. the other role player is overpowered. He's not stupidly overpowered, but he doesn't show emotion at all. He takes hits like Jack does, but he doesn't show emotion. He's the egotistical emotion, just the stupid I'm more powerful than anyone else kind of emotion. Jack is the more like, yeah, I'm more powerful than anyone else, but who cares? I'm not gonna use my powers always. But this actually happened because I was like, no, powers aren't always necessary. Just live a little. Who wants to show off their powers? I mean, I guess a lot of people want to show off their powers, but for no reason. You just appear. That's it. Just appear. You don't need to do a whole flashy thing. Oh, now I'm here. Maybe to intimidate a villain, but this is just appearing. No villain to fight. No one. So Jack turns and pulls back his arm to beat the shit out of the young stranger. We do not tolerate fighting with the school gentleman, said another stranger coming down the steps. No, the young stranger, I knew exactly who he was. I just didn't know how to change the name, so I left it that way. And it was a school that we had appeared at. Good thing I'm not a gentleman and don't need schooling then, said Jack. Which is true because Jack is literally older than that universe, and I explained that in the backstory parts. He isn't a gentleman at all. It's too cool for the school, young student, said the older stranger. No, I helped invent schooling, and I've had a lot of it. Was that a joke or supposed to be a burn? No, I'm dead serious. I was made before this universe. He helped invent schooling. Technically, that is kind of true and not true at the same time. And it was a joke and a burn at the same time. Oh, you just got schooled, something like it was less of a burn than a joke. It was serious, and that's what, and the joke is what he was replying to, not the burn, or the kind of burn. It wasn't meant to be a burn or anything. It just came off like that. Kind of like schooling of others, but he kind of helped invent it or whatever in a way. We'll just gloss over that because it's hard to explain. Lies. No one's that old, says Stranger from the Lightning. And I've run into a lot of characters. And they're like, oh, I'm older than time. I'm like, no. Yeah, maybe this time. One person was like, oh, I'm the son of the devil. I'm like, okay. I was here when the universe was made. I'm like, no. You cannot be the son of the devil and he claimed to be time itself. And it's like, no. And I was like, time began before this universe because I'm trying to explain multiverse stuff. It just gets really complicated. I'm going to save the whole multiverse thing for another video. Lies. No one's that old, says Stranger from the Lightning. No lies, and I'm even older than you think. Which is true. Gentlemen, why don't we step into my office? The guys who are trying to, be nice or whatever, which is fine. The older stranger waved his hand. No portal open. Throne room could be seen on the other side. This has changed. We actually walked in. The other stranger and I walked into the school. And the young stranger, we're just going to call him student. The student and student and Jack walked up into the school with the principal, and then went into the school office, and that's when they started talking about controlling different dimensions, which he considered space a dimension, I guess. He did consider it a dimension, but I really didn't care. And then the nether, and then the hell, and a bunch of other stuff. It's like, oh sweet, your office is hell, so check. I wouldn't beat the shit out of Satan for no reason, only because I wanted to when I felt like it. And he's like, well, I beat and killed him, killed the last one of those fine dimensions, the older fellow. What's y'all's name? Oh yeah, no, I remember. No, mine is Carter, God of Lightning, so the young stranger, which I think I totally forget about him at this point. And I'm like, okay, Thor, titles don't count as names since the 17th century. Mine is Jack, by the way. And I'm trying to make a joke, and or Jack's trying to make a joke and everything, and I don't really remember when titles were stopped. I was just that's why I said it was a joke, as the God of Lightning, you really don't. I was trying to make a joke about how you didn't need the title; you just need to say Carter instead of Carter, God of Lightning. And then the old principal guy is mine is Nether, King of the Nether World. Like I said, titles don't count as names. Otherwise, my name would take years to say, which is true, because Jack is Death, was really called the Grim Reaper, and so many other names. Part of them that I don't even know. I'm just making kind of stuff up. But, going throughout all the years, he'd gained several different names, and I'd rather not go into how many names he would have if he went by all the religions of the name or whatever. Death, what people call Death. And no, not Hades. Hades wouldn't be one. North Thanatos, which is the Greek god of death, and so on. So if y'all could step into my office, we could have ourselves a little chat, all three steps to the portal. Which is what happened, but, we were already inside the school's office. So I decided that I'm going to mess with Nether. So immediately Jack started for the throne. He sat on it and smiled at Nether. You gotta be quicker than that, devil. Nether unsheathed the sword, and the blade looked molten and solid, red hot as just out of the forge and not yet quenched. Get off my throne, you are beneath me, young immortal. Which he thought was true. And this exchange happened, but, different words were said, but getting across that this is kind of what happened. Paraphrased. Jack laughed. It was a deep, hearty laugh, and it put Nether unease. Put Nether in unease. I am not young. I'm not young, but maybe this body, but my soul, mind, and powers have seen more years than you ever know. And I am not beneath you. I am beneath no one but God. Nether. And I actually made did that. I did say God in that kind of, God. Or I guess Jack did in actual roleplay. Nether shuddered at the name. How dare you speak that name in my house? Screamed Nether, rage building inside him. How just got a little hotter. Because God wills it. Because God wills it. And Jack quoted from the ancient Templar Order of the Crusades. Nether growled deep, low, and demonic, but he did not expect to hear Jack growl back, only with more evil than Satan himself could put behind it. I am death, said Jack. Kneel before me, or be killed in your own safe haven. I will not kneel before one so far beneath me. A reaper should know his place. Which is a mistake saying Jack is a reaper. Hell literally froze that day. I'm sorry. Alright, I think I'm going to leave this. Well, I'm going to finish this. Nether looked around his house and shivered where the fire was. There was now snow. Where there was lava, there was now ice. The stone became slick, and Nether gasped in amazement and horror at what this so-called death could do. I am not a reaper. Jack stood and the throne exploded into dust. I own the reapers. I own Hades, the god of death. I own all the gods of death like him, Thanatos, Pluto, Osiris, and more. I own the angels of death along with any demons that they associate with me. I even own the fourth horseman of the apocalypse who calls himself Death, and yet he is not. I am Death, and you will bow to me. His scythe appeared in Jack's hand. I'm going to leave it here. And the next part is actually a continuation of this. It finishes this up, and we can go into another short story or whatever. Right? But this all happens, and I didn't make how Lily froze. I just wanted to put a what do you call it? Exaggeration onto the story. So I put the exaggeration in, how Lily froze. I wanted to make it seem like Jack was really a lot more powerful. So I'm going to end this video here, and I will see you guys in the next episode.